And we are live in a living color from Scimitar Studios right here in Denville, New Jersey. You're listening live to the Open Mic program right here on Blog Talk Radio and, of course, the Sports Talk Nation, as we welcome you in also on the YouTube channel for the Sports Talk Nation. Folks, glad to be back here with you on this Tuesday evening, a kind of rainy Tuesday evening for us here in the Northeast. And we got a great show for you today, as it is now, week 3 of the Major League Baseball season. And we're going to sit here over the next hour of this program. And one thing I promised all you viewers when we completed the spring training tour was that over the course of the season, we would spend time talking about certain teams, focusing on certain areas of baseball, focusing on certain players, what have you, throughout the course of the season. And one thing that's kind of interesting here in baseball over the first 3 weeks is the state of the New York baseball scene, because if you know anything about New York City and the New York City fans, that they, of course, are very, very passionate and can be very, very reactionary. Even myself, I can be very reactionary even on this station. I guess tell me so. But the situation going on with the Yankees and the Mets right now is just incredible how they're now polar opposites. And really the expectation level has, maybe it hasn't changed that much, but it's certainly shifted just a little bit, at least for the Met fan anyway. As both teams have gotten off to different starts. The Yankees are off to a very solid start for this season. They're right in the mix, in the thick of things in the AL East. I know it's only April, as they're about to begin a big series against the Red Sox this week. And the Mets are sputtering out of control. At least it seems like that way anyway, as they are now 8-11 and are just about a game and a half ahead of the last place Braves, who they'll play this week for last place. So let's talk about these situations. We'll start off with the Yankees, of course. And to join me is Karen Vankat, who we've had on many times before, a good friend and a radio host herself. Karen, how are you doing?
Okay, Mike, how you doing?
Great to have you back on, Karen. So let's just jump right into this, because it's funny, because a couple weeks ago you and I were here. We were talking about the baseball season and previewing the Yankees coming into the year, and I think the feeling that we both had was it was going to be hopeful for the Yankees this year. They had a lot of good young players they're bringing up. They're bringing up the kids, letting them play. And we thought that, maybe over the course of a long 162-game season, they could make some noise. I don't think we expected them to make noise this quickly, as they're 11-7 in second place in the AL East. First, we just want to get your thoughts over the start of this season, then we'll break it down just from there.
It was definitely not a surprise, but it's great that they're coming together as a team right away. The big thing is, like, you had Headley, who was non-existent last year. He's on fire. Castro, who had his ups and downs, he's on fire. So you have some of the veterans, quote unquote veterans, given the lead. Ellsbury, he's doing well. The big thing for the Yankees, why they're in the position they're in, is because it's a 25-man roster. Everybody's stepping up to the plate. Sanchez, who's your starting catcher's out. Romine right now is batting .324. He's doing, his defense is always good. He's throwing out people. He's great behind the plate. But his offense is a surprise. And at shortstop is Torrieras. He's another one. He's batting almost .300. The kid doesn't strike out. He's been very good in the field for Didi. Didi's been out. So you start your year with your starting shortstop and catcher out of the lineup. And these two guys have picked it up, and they've been great. I mean, Torrieras, believe it or not, is tied with Judge for most RBIs. You got this little shortstop who's got 13 ribbies tied with the big guy in right field. So they're playing because they're playing every day. You've finally seen Romine. He started hitting last year really well. They're playing every single day. They're coming to the table. Hicks has turned the corner, it looks like, a little bit. He's batting .300 when he's in there. So this is why you're winning, because if these guys who are subbing don't step up, the Yankees are not where they are right now. Never mind the usual suspects, like the big names like Ellsbury or whatever. But if these subs who came in right now, the second-tier guys, don't play well, you're not where you are.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm really impressed with the way this team is playing, and I agree with you. I'm not surprised at all with the way they have succeeded. I think a lot of people around baseball are saying, oh, wow, this is surprising. I don't think so. I think you kind of saw that this was coming in spring training, and also even parts of last year too, with the way they were bringing up some of these kids, and guys like Sanchez was having some success early on. Of course, Castro, who they brought in as a free agent last year, was having success all season. So I'm not really surprised by the success the Yankees are having so far this year, really at all. I mean, I look at this team, the players that stand out for me. You mentioned Aaron Judge. I mean, the guy's just been unbelievable. I mean, I know that Hideki Matsui was nicknamed Godzilla because that's what he had when he was in Japan. But I guess we're going to have to come up with some kind of name for Aaron Judge, because this guy's just an absolute monster. I mean, every time this guy is up, I mean, he is capable of delivering a big-time home run, big-time hit in a big spot for this Yankee team. 6 home runs, 13 RBIs. I saw someone post earlier this week saying that they're hoping that he gets an invite to the Home Run Derby. Now, I know it's a little bit premature in a lot of ways to say that, but man, I don't see how that's not in his future, because this guy the guy's driving the ball farther than I've seen anybody, and it's even going back to the steroid era with the way he is able to crush baseballs right now. And a couple of the big names that we talked about at the beginning of the year that really needed to step up. One of those names, Jacoby Ellsbury. I mean, look what this guy's done, hitting at 300. He has taken pitches. He's been getting on base. Yes, the walks are a little bit down, but he isn't striking out at all. And he's getting base hits. He's finding ways to manufacture runs with his legs. And now your new favorite player, who you just mentioned before, Chase Headley, all of a sudden has figured things out. And I'm thinking to myself, this is what Yankee fans have to be saying right now.
We're going to the playoffs. We're going to the playoffs. Yes, sir.
But we have a lot of games to go yet. But
I know.
We got a long way to go before that. But the excitement is there in this team. This is another thing. Remember, I've been crying about youth for years. When I wrote for Yankees 101, I wrote about the minor league. So I wrote about Judge, who was down there, Sanchez. I remember writing about him since he was 17. He was a baby. So saying, this is the Yankees' future. These guys there's a lot of legitimate players down there. Give them time. And now we're starting to see the patience with the minor leagues pay off. Meanwhile, not only the patience with those, the deals that Cashman made, for how much everybody screamed, and I've done in the past on Cashman, not as much as I do on Girardi, but for some of the moves. But Cashman, at least what I saw in him the last couple of years, he kept preaching to the choir, and he's preaching to his owner. We got to have a little patience. We got to develop our farm system. Well, it's now get paid dirt. Plus, you added from the trade of Chapman. That was like the best thing ever. You traded Chapman, you got him back, and you got the number one prospect in baseball. All right, so and a bunch of other guys who are really doing well. So all of that is just absolutely fantastic.
No, absolutely. And another thing that really is going to be important for this team, and the way they've been playing so far this year, is one thing that stands out from, we haven't really touched on, is the pitching. The pitching has been really solid for this team so far this season, and it's really exceeded expectations. Especially CC Sabathia, who has been unbelievable this year. Corner.
Yes, definitely turned the corner. He's finally accepted you're not the power pitcher anymore.
Yep.
All right? The other day, the last game, he wasn't on. He gave up, But basically, he's really been good. He's been steady. Michael Pineda, my God, just stay focused. You see what he can do, all right, if he's on the money and staying focused. The kid Montgomery, he lost the other day, but he only gave up 2 runs. You should win those games. You know what I mean? The Yankees left in that game.
He's been very solid.
He's been very solid. Mike, he's got 4 pitches that he could throw at any time in any count, and he's a lefty. That's what makes him so special. And you see his delivery. There's not much in that delivery. They were talking. David Cohen was talking about it the one day when he was doing one of the games. He said he's got a simple, over-the-top delivery, which is there's no room for bad mechanics in it. You know what I mean? Because it's just remember Mariano? How robotic was he with his mechanics? He said Jordan Montgomery does the same thing. You don't know what pitch is coming out of his hand. It could be the changeup, it could be the curve, it could be the slider, it could be the fastball. You don't know because he has that same mechanics about him. So, so he's doing good. Severino finally maybe turned the corner back to being a starter again with his what he's been doing. So this, as far as I'm concerned, as a Yankee fan, first, I mean, you're just excited to see this. I know, even if they fail, even like what's happening with Bird right now, even though Bird isn't doing great right now, you seeing his swing. His swing is still good. He's making good contact. He hit one to the wall the other day. He's still, he's spraying it around the field, even though he's making out. So just give him his time. We'll probably get into it, but Girardi, the kid was 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 the other day, the home run Bird. Finally turned the corner. What does he do with him? He sits in the next game. That's garbage. That's garbage. Now he's back in the slump again. He finally turns the corner. He's feeling good about himself. He has a 4 for 4 game, and you sit him against Darren Holland, who they just blew up in that game.
Well, that's the
where
thing that
Girardi, I can't stand it.
Yeah, that's the thing that Girardi, not just Girardi, but there are other managers in baseball who do the same thing. They just overplay their hand. They think, well, I got to give the guy a day off no matter what. Well, if the guy's going to go 3 for 3, as was the case here with Bird here against the Cardinals about 12 days ago or so, you can't let him play. I mean, just let him play the next day. If he goes 0 for 3, okay, you want to sit him the day after that on the 18th, then go right ahead. But if you got a guy who's starting to hit the baseball and starting to turn the corner a little bit, and see the baseball a little better, you got to let him have that opportunity to play, because this is a guy who I think early in the year, at least to start the year anyway, was pressing a little bit because of the kind of spring training he had. Remember, he had that great spring training, was hitting home runs all over the place. A lot of people are talking about what this guy could do as far as spraying the ball all over the field in the ballparks in the American League East. And that may still happen when we get into May, and then of course moving on throughout the season. But I think for Greg Bird, I think he's been pressing a lot, and he really needs an opportunity to play every single day. And when he does have that good game, not be sat down almost like a punishment, but just let him keep playing through it. That's the only way these guys are going to get better.
And he's young. He's in his 20s. Do you know what the story is? A week ahead of time, Girardi already had penciled in that lovely book that he keeps that I wish they just throw out one day or burn it, that you are going to sit in a week. He already told the kid in a week, this day against this pitcher you're sitting. Okay, the kid's struggling mightily. Now he has a game, the major league game of his life in a way, turns the corner, looks really good, and you go, all right, I'm supposed to sit you. That's what I wanted to do. But listen, we finally got you going. I think I'll keep you in. That's what he should have done. He should have looked in his book and said, oh, I'm resting Bird no matter what. That's not managing what you've got. And for how much the analytics, which I can't stand, and I know there's some, they do the shift and all this and all the sabermetrics, and they throw out all this stuff at you. You still have to do some things with your gut and your feeling. And you have to manage, you can't just go look in a book or get on the computer. That's going to be the next thing, Michael. It's going to be a computer in the dugout, okay? So you can't just pull up numbers and then just say, okay, this is going to happen. You're dealing, first of all, number one, with human beings. They're not robots, okay? So anything can happen. Anything can be a change of what you think and predicting with your numbers. And if somebody's hot, just like in basketball, somebody is hot, right? And they're just banging those threes. They come right down, and it's like, give me the ball, and they're going crazy, and they're having this great. Are you going to sit him? Are you going to take a timeout and say, oh, I'm sitting you now because you need to rest? If the guy's nailing everything for you? No. Well, in baseball, this is what you do. It's game to game. So you want to keep that momentum going. You've heard of when they're on a roll. The Yankees were on a roll. I think they won 5 or 6 in a row, and then they had the day off. You don't want the day off when you're on a roll, okay? So same thing with these guys out in the field. You don't want to sit. If I'm batting what I'm doing and I'm doing great, I don't want to sit because, and I'm sure in Bird's head he's like, oh, I had this great game. I finally turned the corner. And then the manager goes, you're sitting. Now you're cold again. Now we got to get it up again. You wasted another 24 hours, more than that, and now he's back in the weeds, as they said. He's lost.
Well, that's why it's very important for him just to continue to work hard, and that's why another big part of that why the game of analytics, which has entered the game in a much bigger way than it's ever has before, with all the stats they have and all the different kind of stats that are their own stats for that matter, with sabermetrics. And I, in my mind, I'm in agreement with you yourself, as well as a lot of other old school baseball people, inside baseball people, who are not really big fans of the sabermetric system that's taken over baseball now. But if you are a Greg Bird, and if you are some of these other younger players like a Torreyes, like an Aaron Judge, and let's just step back a little bit here, because we all know that at some point here, whether it starts tonight against the Red Sox or even next week for that matter, the Yankees are going to hit a proverbial wall at some point. So we all know that day is coming. You want to be able to just continue to pick off the brain of guys like Girardi, veteran guys, of course, like a Matt Holliday, and just continue to progress as you would every single day. So that's really the only thing you can do, and hope that you can get that playing time. And if you're the manager, you have got to keep putting your guys out there every single day, even when they struggle, as I said earlier, to give them that opportunity to get through it. I mean, look what I hate to go jump to the other team here in town here for a second, but this is kind of what the Mets did last year with Conforto, and I thought it really screwed him up, where they used him like a yo-yo. They bounced him around between the major leagues and the minor leagues, and he never got on the same page again the rest of the season. And they made him into a part-time player to start this year, and now they're realizing, well, he's playing every single day, now he's hitting. Well, yeah, because he's playing every single day. And that's the key. You got to let these guys play all the time.
Well, just look at the Yankee subs that I was talking about, Romine and Torreyes, playing every day. They're both hitting over 300. They're not striking out a lot. They're getting on base, even if it's the walk, or they're moving runners, or they're doing why? Because they're playing, like you said. And if a guy is struggling, are you going to just? And we know he can hit, Bird. I mean, you know it. He did it not last year because he had his shoulder. The year before, remember when he came up the end of the season? He was great for Teixeira. Then he got the injury. He was out all last season. But we saw what he could do in spring training. I mean, he played. He was the starting first baseman, so he did see the top-line pitching early on in the game, whoever their starters were or whatever. It's not like he saw the scrub in the ninth inning from the third or fourth tier people. So we know he's got a great swing. He's got a good eye. He can spray it around the field. He's just a little slow right now with his bat. Maybe it's coming back from the injury. He had the ankle injury, and maybe that slowed him down. Supposedly he's okay, but maybe, I don't know, as far as seeing the ball and everything else. And like you said, he's pressing a little bit. Now, Gardner, on the other hand, Gardner's 1 for 27 or something. He's in the toilet right now. And, now Hicks is playing good. So why don't you put Hicks out there? You kept pushing Hicks. You were going to put Judge on the bench or down to the minors because you're so high on Hicks. Well, if he's doing good now, then stick Gardner for a while. Gardner's the older player. Gardner's the 34-year-old or whatever he is now.
Absolutely.
So
and Hicks,
he's not the
Hicks wants to get back.
22-year-old. And he's not the 22-year-old Bird. He's 34. So let him sit for a while. He's been horrible. He can't even bunt. He can't even get on base, Gardner, with his speed.
Yeah. And how about, let's just take a look at this, because
there.
And absolutely. And let me just bring this up here because big picture, we know that Gary Sanchez at some point here is going to come back. I'm not too sure when. We just see if I have any update here.
They're hoping
took swing Saturday for the first time since landing on the DL. So he's still a ways away from game back. But Austin Romine's done a nice job there behind the plate in his stead. I think Higashioka has done a nice job as far as catching games. I know he hasn't had a hit yet, but they've been okay there at the catching position here in the last couple of weeks since Sanchez went down. But they obviously need to get him back in the lineup at some point in the next few weeks because, like I said, a lot of these hot starts for a lot of these Yankee players is not going to continue. You would expect a Ellsbury, a Headley, even Castro, and to some extent, to hit a bit of a speed bump at some point. So it's very important when Sanchez gets back that he gets back and starts hitting right away.
I'm not saying they don't need his bat in there, but I'm just saying Romine right now hasn't been a negative. Let's put it that way. He hasn't been a detriment. Okay. But he's not Sanchez. And, yes, you want Sanchez behind the plate. Absolutely, 100%. But him and that Torreras, that short, they haven't been a liability offensively or defensively. It's a bonus. It's a bonus right now the way they've been playing. And you've got your starters like Bird and Gardner in the starting lineup who haven't been hitting. Can you imagine if Bird and Gardner were doing just hitting 250 right now or something? I mean, just
Yankees would be in first place. Yeah,
absolutely. So, yes, like I said, you want Judge, you want Didi back, but look at these guys; they're capable. And in their head, Romine said it in an interview. When we're called upon, we know we can step up, all right? So if you're going to give Sanchez the day off or Didi the day off or whatever, Torreras can go in there and you're not worrying. You're not worrying about Romine behind the plate that, oh, my God, we only have 8. You know, when you go through the lineup, you say you got 9 batters, and then you're saying, well, 2 of these really stink. You're just, we can't count on them. Well, you can count on them. And that's what's great about the Yankees' versatility right now. You can count on these backup guys to step in.
Absolutely. We're right here, folks, on the Open Mic program. Michael Cohen as well as Karen Vankat, as we were talking about the New York sports scene in baseball right now here on this Open Mic program here on this Tuesday. I did just find out that the Yankee game against the Red Sox tonight has been postponed. Not sure about the Mets-Braves game tonight, but the Yankees and Red Sox postponed, so they'll start that series tomorrow night, I guess, is a abbreviated 2-game series. We'll talk about the series.
Yeah, that's going to be a doubleheader now on 7/16.
Oh, it's going to be a doubleheader.
It's going to be a day-night doubleheader in July back in Boston. They already said that. So it'll be day-night doubleheader. That means you, get them out and you empty the stadium and they bring in a whole new bunch of people.
Yeah, that's what
when they do that, right?
I hate when they do
that.
Kind of I always prefer the straight doubleheader.
Yeah.
Myself. You get free, but you pay for one, you get a free game.
Especially if you're the second guy coming in. If you're for the second game, you can't find a parking space.
That's how they going to do that in Boston. I mean, I guess you just use mass transit. I mean, you have to use mass transit anyway.
Yeah, they probably push that like they do at Yankee Stadium. But people coming from Jersey, they're not using mass transit. A lot of them, they're parking.
Of course. And with the way things are going right now, with NJ Transit and all the other problems that have been going on lately with the just trying to commute in New York, it's a little bit hairy for that matter. But let's talk about let me go back on the pitching here just for a second, because as good as these guys have pitched, and look, Severino has been very good, and Pineda has been solid as well. Neither pitcher has been walking anybody. CC has been the old CC again. Like the offense, you would expect that these guys are going to at some point hit a wall. And we came into this year talking about the pitching maybe being a question mark, even to the point of being a liability for this team. Do you have any confidence that this can continue, that these guys can continue to pitch at such a high level? I mean, I'm going to leave Montgomery out because he's a young guy. I think that he is going to have a very good season. And I'm going to leave out Tanaka because I know he's been slumping early on, and I expect him to at some point turn it around. But the other 3 guys, do you think this can continue?
You hope it can continue. You don't know because of the inconsistency and the track record. The track record for Pineda, the track record for Severino, though they screwed around with him a little bit, which the Yankees are terrible at, bullpen out, bullpen starter thing. And CeCe, has he finally turned the corner? As far as not being a power. He's not the old CC. The old CC I wouldn't have worried about when he was able to, throw 95 and, if he was slumping a little, you knew he was going to come out of it and be able to manage it. But the new CC, with doing all the breaking stuff and in and out, locations, paramount for him, putting it, because he can't throw it 95 anymore. That's important for him. So can these 3 guys show some consistency? Right now, early on, they have. You want them to go 4, 5, 6 starts in a row that look good. Even if they lose a game in there, they look good. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have the stinker. You're a human being. You're going to have a stinker throughout the season, here and there, and just you don't have your stuff. But if you want to see that consistency, this is how I look at it, at least 4, 5, 6 games in a row that they're looking pretty good, you know. Even Montgomery, he lost that one game, or he's lost two, I think, or it was a no decision. He still looked good. He was still getting his pitches over. They didn't give him any run. So that's what you're looking for in pitching. Not all wins and losses. Are you getting your pitches over? Are you getting the guys there? Because you also have to depend on your offense to help you, you know, give you your runs. No, you can't pitch a 1-0 game all the time.
No.
You know, that kind of thing. Or a 2-1 game all the time. You got to get some offense behind you. And but you want to see on the mound, can you command your pitches, command the strike zone, and are you able to pick your spots? And you want to see that. And that's the telltale sign. I can't predict if that's going to happen. Track record for Pineda especially would be a no. But this is his walk year. He's in his free agent year. You know, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it this year.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to be looking for a contract.
Yeah. And, you know, I agree with you there. I mean, he is in a walk year of the contract. He wants to pitch well. There's a little more incentive right now. And he's always been a guy who's been a good strikeout pitcher. He struck out over 200 guys last year. He doesn't walk too many guys anyway. But it's always been with him just the inconsistency of his methods on the mound that have really just bedeviled, you know, not just the Yankees, but also the Mariners before that, with the injuries on top of that. So I think for him, the biggest key for me, at least for the next, let's just say the next, 4 or 5 starts, is not only does he continue to pitch well, but he continues to pitch well and be healthy after each of these starts. Because if we're gonna have at some point here, let's just say June 10th, he goes out there and pitches in a game, and then comes out with an injury, it just kind of sets everything back. I mean, he's got to find a way to get through, not just pitching well, but he's got to find a way, as I said, just to stay healthy for a long period of time and prove that he can be that kind of pitcher. Now, as you all know, when it comes to these guys in these walk years, it's always funny how they always seem to have their healthiest year and their best year when they needed to have it the most. So we'll see what happens there. And Severino, to me, has always been the kind of this wild card. I still really don't know what to expect from him. He's still a young guy. That's the biggest thing I get from Severino. He's still a young guy who's still making that transition full-time now as a starting pitcher. I would expect at some point he's going to have his handful of starts where he's just not going to pitch very well. He's pitched well so far this year. He has been brilliant with the walk-to-K ratio, but you know and I know that bad start is coming at some point. The question is, can he limit that bad start to just one bad start? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think also the biggest thing with him, and they said it early on, remember when they were just before the season started, who the possible 4th and 5th starter was going to be and who was going to the bullpen. They said that Montgomery and Severino are starting pitchers, that you will never see them in the bullpen. So they've already committed to them. That's good for those kids. In their minds, they're going, it's not like Brian Mitchell and Adam Warren, who've looked over their shoulder their whole career so far because, if I'm not doing this, I'm going to the pen. If I'm not doing, or, you know, whatever. These two aren't going. If they're not doing well, they're going to AAA. They're not going in the pen. So they are starting pitchers. I think that's good for especially Severino because he's been told, hey, we're not jerking around with you. We're not going to pull you in over here, even though he had a couple of lights out as a reliever. And like you said, the walk to K ratio, what is it, 27 Ks to, I mean, he had some great stats. They were comparing him to other people. He's got the stuff. And if he's got the confidence, and I think he's got the confidence, he showed it when he was really lights out almost as a reliever. I mean, he went out there with the moxie. He needs to do that as a starter. But see, with a starter, you know you've got to go 5 to 7 innings. You've got you can't be burned out. You can't just do it all in 1 inning or 2 innings and give everything you got. You've got to pitch. Everybody forgets that. Even if you've got the 95, 97 mile an hour fastball, you can't just throw it up there because if it's right over the middle of the plate, even at 95, you're going to hit it. So that's why it's called pitching. The pitcher on the mound is called a pitcher for a reason, not a thrower. Because if you're just throwing it up there, you're going to get hit.
Absolutely. Absolutely true. And, you know, I look at the way this team's been playing. Even the series against Pittsburgh, Even though they lost that series, you have to be impressed with it. I know Ivan Nova pitched well, which came out of nowhere just last weekend on Sunday, coming out pitching well for the Pirates. I think it was more revenge than anything else. But I look ahead on the schedule. Obviously, the series here against the Boston Red Sox, which again will start tomorrow. As Karen mentioned earlier, tonight's game postponed. It'll be a doubleheader in July in Boston as a makeup. But the Red Sox have been a team that everyone thought would win this division. They may still win this division. It's only April, but this is a huge series to start the year. To have the Red Sox and the Yankees go at it on this platform is really just exciting to watch. I cannot wait to see how this series shakes out and how the Yankees shape up against this Red Sox team.
Yeah, because believe it or not, the Red Sox are older than the Yankees, probably for the first time in a while. I mean, Pedroia, Sandoval. I mean, you can pull out names out of there. They're the older than what the Yankees have. So, I mean, the oldest player the Yankees have in the starting lineup would be Gardner at 34, maybe. But, so it's very interesting how that has changed. It was always the Yankees, the older team, the veteran, the free agent team, blah, blah, blah. And now they have homegrown talent, too, Boston. Benedetti or whatever? He's been doing good. You got Betts, Bogarts. I mean, they have infused some of their younger talent in with their veterans. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. It's almost like it's like whose youngsters are going to come through. That's what it ends up being. Which team's younger players, because the veterans are veterans, So who's going to have the upper hand? But the Red Sox pitching hasn't been good. And isn't Price still hurt too?
Yes, he's still hurt. He had a light bullpen session just this past week. He's still a long way away from getting back into the mode right now for the Red Sox. I mean, they're in a situation right now where their best pitcher is Chris Sale, obviously, because he was obviously. But after Chris Sale, it's just really a mystery. I mean, Porcello has not been that good. I think you can easily say you could have expected that, considering that he had such a great year last year. I don't think anybody expected him to repeat that this year. Stephen Wright's been miserable. I mean, Pomerantz hasn't been good. So, I mean, they've really struggled in the starting pitching department for the Red Sox so far to start this year.
Yeah, their pitching hasn't, I mean, they're right there with the Yankees, but, of course, Baltimore right now is ahead of everybody, but you're going to have this influx, Turvey. This is going to be all year, a battle. Nobody's running away with anything in the Eastern Conference. The surprise is Toronto. What are they, 4-12 or something? I mean, they're absolutely terrible. That Tampa may end up ahead of them, and Tampa's got like no names really, except Longoria. They always just go through their farm system and they get some D-line free agents if they got anybody or that kind of thing. And their pitching is usually good. Tampa. I mean, they always have good young pitching for years. But Toronto is just horrendous.
Terrible. I mean, oh my God, they're so big. I mean, I guess the loss of Edwin Encarnacion was that big for them because they just can't get out of their own way. I mean, I was listening to at the beginning of the year. I was listening to Francesa, and he had an MLB Network guy on. And the guy said to him, the leader of the Blue Jays is Troy Tulowitzki. I'm like, is that really necessarily a good thing? And so far, it hasn't turned out that way. For the Blue Jays, man, they are just bad. And when Kevin Pillar is your best hitter, that tells you have a problem.
Exactly. And Tulowitzki was a product of Colorado.
Exactly.
I don't think he was as good. Everybody made him out like the next Jeter. He used to wear Jeter's number, and he could carry the team. And not that Jeter was a home run hitter or anything like that, but Jeter got his hit. And, was almost a 300 hitter most of his career, so he did stuff. Tulowitzki, I think, was a product of the air out there in Colorado as far as his hitting and all that kind of stuff. And I think he's kind of being exposed since he's come over to Toronto. I mean, he's been okay. He hasn't been no superstar by any stretch of the imagination. So it's funny how guys come into certain ballparks. Remember Crawford? Carl Crawford in Tampa.
Yeah.
And then once he went to grass and went to the West Coast, he was a bust, basically. because he was a turf guy. You know, that's where he, you know, was good at, on the turf. So you have those players that maybe start out at their first team. They're like gangbusters, but they're a product of the stadium in a way. And then when they move on in free agency to get that big contract, they move on, and then they're terrible. And or way below average. I shouldn't say terrible. Then they don't all stink, but they do come down to earth, and they don't live up to that contract because they were a product of that original, whether it's a turf player or, like I said, that air there in Colorado and the way the balls fly out and everything else, and they hit the hitter's bar. So
no, he's definitely a product of that entire Colorado system over there, and you know, he probably is one of the more overrated guys. I mean, he was one of those guys that everyone thought was going to be a Yankee at some point and never happened. Kind of like the way everyone's like Bryce Harper's going to be a Yankee. I mean, Yankees aren't going to pay. I mean, I know I'm getting off on a tangent. Yankees aren't going to pay $400 million to Bryce Harper or whatever he's planning to ask in the open market.
No, they don't. To be honest, they don't need Bryce Harper.
No.
Yankee fans, they keep saying, "Oh, the Yankee fans want these." We don't want the free agents. We want homegrown talent, and you see what they do when you get a homegrown kid. Now in the bleachers out in right field, they're wearing Judge robes, all right? And they're yelling, "Here comes the Judge," and they're getting all excited because you got a homegrown talent. They get excited with Bird and Sanchez. They call him Sanchez, like a franchise. You know, I mean, they're all excited. That's what you're excited for. You have these kids for years, and you know how a grind it is in the minor leagues. It's out of the four sports, the toughest, and we've said that before, the toughest sport to break into. You've got to go through years of minor leagues. I don't care how good you are. You got to put in your time, and then you get brought up. The Yankees have that McKinney down there. The Yankees have Frazier. This is all outfielders. They have so many outfielders. They don't need Bryce Harper.
No, they don't.
Right? They really don't. And if
they certainly don't need Harper's attitude in the clubhouse either. They don't need that either.
Exactly. That's not a Yankee attitude. Absolutely don't. Have you heard Judge's interviews? Have you heard Bird interviews? You think to Jeter?
They're very eloquent in their interviews. They're fantastic.
And they're all about team. Meredith Marakovich was talking to Judge about his big day. He goes, "There's 25 guys on this roster. We all contribute." He goes, "Yes, I'm excited that I'm contributing." But he told her, "I'm not trying for home runs. I'm trying up the middle. I'm trying the other way. I'm trying to get my back," because he knows how many strikeouts he had last year, and he's made the turn, and mentally he's made the turn with that. So yes, he's got 17 strikeouts, but he's been up at bat like 60 plus times or almost 70 times. That's fine for a big guy. He's going to strike out still once in a while, but that home run, that 360-foot home run he hit. Did you see what the pitch was? It wasn't a cookie. It wasn't right over the plate. He went down for that, and he golfed that out. So that's how strong he is.
Was that the one he hit to the restaurant? Was that the one he hit to the restaurant?
No, this was the other one, the most recent one. I don't know if it's in Pittsburgh. It went up into their bleachers. But the restaurant, too, none of these were just thrown over the plate, and he just, like, batting practice. Absolutely not. If you look at all his home runs, look at where they're positioned as throws. So,
like I said, I have not seen any hitter hit with the kind of power that this guy does. And look, that's saying something. We've seen a lot of big-time power hitters, even in the steroid era, guys who would just crush the baseball and take the cover off of it. But for the distance and the mileage that this guy puts on these baseballs, it's something that I've never. It's almost like he's hitting with a wiffle bat. You know, that's what it's like right now. That's what it's like right now.
And you know what? I saw him in person. Like I was in Florida. He's 6'7". They say about 280. He really doesn't look 280 to me. But if you look at him, he's not overly big. Like remember McGuire when he was doing steroids and all that. Judge is a big guy. Don't get me wrong in stature, but I mean muscular wise.
Right.
He's got the muscles, but he's not overly, like you said, he's juicing or he's doing some. He doesn't look that way at all. And he could do the outfield. He got the balls in the outfield, the one against the wall. He's got a very good arm, very good arm. So, and they said he's good on the base pass. I don't know, he did a play the other day, first to third, and somebody commented. They said he paid attention, he was watching, and so I said, well, that's what you want because he's not super fast, but he still is fast enough. He's not a total slowpoke at all for being a big guy. He does have speed, not where it's going to be stealing bases for you all the time, but he can mose in the outfield. He gets to the balls, and coming around the bases, he can get around. So I hope it pans out. It's exciting to watch. Right now, Sanchez is the number one selling jersey in the American League. All right, for the American League, there's 8 ahead of him. They're all National League guys. But for the American League, he's number one. You give Judge, if he continues at this pace and even increases, he'll be the number one jersey.
Oh, he's going to be the number one jersey. Everyone's going to want number 99. At this point, usually that's a spring training number. You usually want to change that. Considering the Yankees have retired every single digit, 99 is now in vogue. Let's just keep it going with number 99. It worked for Wayne Gretzky. Might as well work for Aaron Judge. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I'd keep it too if I were him. I wouldn't trade that in.
Now, we go from talking about the Yankees to now let's just talk about the New York Mets who, well, I think this pretty much sums it up.
Oh, no! We suck again!
There you go. Yes. They suck again, the New York Mets. I know. So I'm being a little bit too harsh. Actually, not really. But this has just been a really disappointing start to this season.
They're not hitting. Is that the whole thing right now? They're just not hitting?
Excuse me?
I said that's the big thing right now. They're just not hitting?
It's a combination of a whole bunch of things. It's a combination of the injuries they've had, which are really just nagging injuries. These aren't debilitating injuries at all. They really have no excuse other than the fact that they just aren't hitting the baseball at all. I mean, no one's hitting. Reyes has been a completely abysmal. He's hitting 103. In fact, he was hitting 034 in the leadoff spot. They've now put Conforto in the leadoff spot, and do you really want him there? Not really, even though he's hit well there. He's hit over 400 in the leadoff spot. He's not a leadoff hitter. Darno hasn't started to cool off. Neil Walker has been a disappointment this year. Good thing they didn't give him a contract. Curtis Granderson. I always like Curtis Granderson, but he's getting old. I mean, it's starting to show right now that he's not the same player he once was. And this team right now, they have too many left-handed hitters in the lineup. That's one of their biggest problems. And they try to hit for power all the time. They don't try to get the base hit to advance the runners. They don't try to hit for doubles. They don't try to hit for triples. They don't even try to steal bases. All they care about is hitting home runs. And that's not how you win baseball games in this league. It's just not.
No, and it's funny you said that's what they're doing because the Yankees did that like 2 years ago or, with Teixeira and all that. And, he can't go the other way against the shift. And how about just trying to move the runner? How about stealing more bases? And Girardi would say, we're not that kind of team. Well, if you're not hitting a home run, then you're not scoring runs. That's what's exciting about the Yankees right now because they're stealing bases, they're getting the hits, they're also getting the home run, but they're doing other things. Now, the Mets are doing what the Yankees did. They got stuck in that nonsense of just trying to hit home runs. You can't do that in this league because you live and die by the home run. You're waiting for the 3-run homer? You mean the guy can't bunt the runners over? You mean the guy can't just get his bat on the ball, get a sacrifice fly or whatever, or move the runner? How about hit and run? Where did hit and run go? It's like almost non-existent with a lot of teams. It's like gone.
And you know what? I don't want to pin blame on the hitting coach because the hitting coach I think is a slightly overrated position. But isn't it kind of ironic that the guy who was the hitting coach for the Yankees when they had all these problems was Kevin Long, who, oh, by the way, is now the Mets hitting coach? Isn't that kind of ironic in a lot of ways?
Oh yeah, definitely. I used to say, and you're right though, the hitting coach, one of the most overrated of the coaching positions, because I don't think they ever really help the player. You know what I mean? Like even Bird with his situation right now, I forgot who the hitting coach is for the Yankees. Thames is one. They have like 2 hitting coaches. He talked to him about doing something. Why are you altering him already? He's hit up to this point. All right, he's in a slump. All right, but, unless you see in video that he's altered from his original, leave him alone. Why are you making changes to something that really did work? So and Kevin Long was good for that, I'll tell you right now. Mm-hmm. But with Jeter, remember when he did this thing with the toe tap? Remember when Jeter went 0 for 40 or something? Remember that? They were booing him at one point. This was early on. I forgot what season it was. And Long had him change this whole thing with his foot. And you saw him, like, do a thing with a toe tap and and all this. The guy hit 300 for years, and now you're that's not his problem. And then Jeter went back to his old way, and he started hitting. So, you know, this is the thing. And Kevin Long, he never impressed me. I was glad when they got rid of him. I really was. Because the Yankees went through major stretches where they couldn't hit.
It's showing here. I mean, it was showing last year, and now it's showing this year. And, you know, not only is the hitting coach, whatever advice he's giving to this team is certainly not very good advice, but outside of that, I just don't see how they can compete. I really don't. And they were uncompetitive against the Washington Nationals. And there were games, that game on Saturday, they didn't even try. They really didn't even try in that game on Saturday against them, against Gio Gonzalez, who, by the way, was no-hitting them through 6 innings. And that was the second time in a week the Mets have been no-hit through 6 innings in a game, which is another embarrassment for this team. It really is to start the season.
I have to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question and answer as a Met fan, okay?
Sure.
Not an analyst or anything, as a Met fan. How do you feel about this, that Daniel Murphy, what's happened after they never signed him? Because I know a lot of Met fans back then didn't want Daniel Murphy. And there was a lot of, you know, he can't catch at second, and that was the one position they found for him, and but he did hit a lot. He did in the playoffs. I think he was one of the only guys that did hit for you in the playoffs before he eventually left. So I was wondering, as a Met fan, how do you feel about how well Murphy has been doing the 2 years now that he's with the Nationals?
Well, now it looks like the worst decision the Mets have ever made in their history, short of signing Roberto Alomar 10 years ago. I mean, it looks terrible now. I feel good for Murphy because he was always a good guy, always a good clubhouse guy. Never had a problem with him ever. Even when he had that error in the World Series, I was thinking to myself, you know, I hope the fans don't turn this into a Bill Buckner situation and blame him for losing the World Series when it was not his fault at all. I have no problem with Daniel Murphy, but to me, could they have worked harder to make a contract with him? I think they probably could have, but there were 2 things that were working against them the entire time. One was the David Wright contract, which, let's be honest with ourselves, is the albatross for this team that has ever existed for this franchise. I know David Wright's a franchise, but think about it. The guy hasn't played in now almost 2 years. He hadn't had a full season in 3 or 4 years, and he has this huge contract that's hanging over this franchise. And you also have the Yoenis Cespedes contract, which has been, well, let's sign him to a long-term deal, and then he opts out. Let's sign him to, it's been like LeBron James with Yoenis Cespedes. He signs a big contract, and then he opts out, and then he signs another big contract, and then he opts out of that contract. I mean, it's insane. It really is insane. And if they had a guy like a Daniel Murphy in this lineup, it could have calmed the waters down a little bit. Maybe they would have had something that they really don't. I don't think they have right now, and that's a leader in the clubhouse. I really don't think they have that kind of person in the clubhouse right now. How is David Wright going to lead? Hey guys, go get him. I'm just going to sit here and watch from the bench and chew on sunflower seeds for 3 hours. That's that. I mean, where's the leadership? They don't have any right now.
They don't have any. I'm looking right now at the hitting, the staff. And Conforto, the guy that is up and down, he's your number 1 hitter.
I know.
He's 361. And after that, then you go Bruce, who they were going to run out of town last year, is 271. And everybody else is 260 or below. So you don't even have a couple of 300 hitters. And that's the difference of the Yankees, because you've got Ellsbury, Castro, Headley, Torrieras. You've got and Roma. You've got right now 5 or 6 guys hitting over 300. You know what that means? When your average is high, you're not just forget the home runs. You're getting hit. You're getting the double. You're getting the single. You're driving runs in. That's why you have high average. Prove this here with the Mets averages are so low. And what about their home runs? How many home runs do they actually have? I'm trying to
They have
think
27.
Total.
27. They have 29 home runs. I'm sorry, 29 home runs and 138 hits. So what's that 30% of their hits are home runs? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
So, I mean,
in fact, you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to do my because you know how over the years when we've done these shows with the Yankees, you always complain about wanting to see the young kids. Well, I'm going to do my impression of that here with the Mets. I think it's time to see some of these young kids they have on a farm, the Dominic Smiths of the world, the Ahmed Rosarios of the world, hell, even the Matt Reynolds of the world. He was 27 years old and not getting any younger. Let's see these kids because you know what? This infield is just bad. I mean, Jose Reyes is just not doing the job at all at third base. He's out of position. He isn't hitting the baseball anymore at all right now. He's not getting on base. He really has no electricity for this lineup. And you got a kid in Rosario who's down on the farm right now, Karen, who's hitting 414. He's got doubles. He's got triples. He's got stolen bases. He's got 5 stolen bases down there in AAA. Bring this kid up. Let's see what he can do. And, they're going to say, well, he's got to get more seasoning. Okay, I understand that. But you know what? It's time to bring him up. If that means he has to play at shortstop for a period of time at the major league level and you let Cabrera play at third base for a while, then so be it. But it's time to bring these kids up and give them a chance.
He plays shortstop, the kid?
That's the biggest thing. He plays shortstop. He's a natural shortstop. They just moved him to third base just the other day. So there is a sense in the organization, obviously, that, hey, we got to put him at third base. We can't have Jose Reyes continuing to struggle. And it seems like they're going to try to rush him in his progression at third base.
All right. And they're saying dude is out injured, too, and there's a top prospect, first baseman Dominic Smith. So bring him up. Bring Smith up. Bring Rosario up and let them play. What do you got to lose right now? You're losing.
I know.
That's what cracks me up. That's the rationale of some of these teams. I don't want to bring the kids up. We don't want to give them a bad taste, and then they can't, I mean, come on. I mean, you got to see what you have. That was my preaching to the Yankees for years. You have to see what you have. You can't just trade them all away and get free agents. So same thing with the Mets. What are you doing right now? Bring these 2 up and let them play and see what happens. You may find a diamond in the rough. Both these kids are hitting like 400, over 300. They're killing AAA. If they're killing AAA pitching, they might be ready. I know it's a big jump. Everything is a big jump, AA to AAA and all that. But if you're hitting 400 in AAA, that means you could hit in the majors 300, or I'd take 280. It doesn't matter. It's better than what you got now, 100 out of Reyes.
Absolutely. Yeah, but it's a hell of a lot better than what you're getting right now out of Reyes. I mean, they have to, at some point here, and look, I don't know when they're going to make the move to bring up Rosario or, for that matter, Dominic Smith. It may be 4 weeks from now, maybe 2 months from now. I have no idea. But at some point, if this continues, they're going to have to make that move. Now, I know a lot of my friends are like, well, it's early. It's only April. You don't lose the division in April. Well, you can't win or lose the division in April. Well, you could lose the division in April. And they're right now 0-3 against Washington. They have 11 losses in the division, and they've played all division games. You know what? I know it's so-called early, but at some point, you have to stop saying it's early. And at some point, to say,
oh, yeah.
What's this team going to be? I mean, right now, this team looks like they're going to be a team that's going to be in the outside looking in for a very long summer right now.
And guess what? Today, that they approved Major League Baseball, that Jeter and Jeb Bush are buying the Marlins. It's been approved for $1 billion. So now when they get involved, and Jeter's a winner. Whatever he does, I'm not going to say that they're going to go and – what I mean, he's going to try. And he's going to do his damnedest to make it a good team. What happens when they start turning the Marlins around more? The Marlins have some good young talent, but what happens if it starts really happening for them?
Yeah, it's going to. I mean, they're playing good baseball right now as it is. And how do you think Don Mattingly feels right now, knowing that? And look, I have no idea what went on in the clubhouse in '95, but here's a kid he probably hazed a little bit when he was a rookie, and now he's the boss.
I know, isn't that? And you know what's going to happen down there, and I've said this to some people already. Tino Martinez lives down there. Jorge Posada lives down there. You don't think Jeter's going to start getting some of them in?
The Miami Yankees. The Miami Yankees.
Listen, when they were first formed and they got their team, I was living down there, and it was the biggest thing, and they were all excited. I even had a T-shirt. I'm a Yankee fan. I always will be a Yankee fan, but it's the National League. So I figure, well, I'll root for the Marlins, you know, because they're in the National League. At that time, I don't even think there was interleague play back then when they first became a team. And everybody was gung-ho, and, you know, they have won a couple World Series in the past. But it's because down there, I'm going to tell you right now, southeast Florida is the metropolitan area south. There are so many people there from Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey down there. So many that your fan base, if they're like a Yankee fan or, you know, they may root for the Marlins down there because they're there and they can go to the game. You know, so that's
gonna be scary. That's gonna be, and they're gonna be a very attractive spot. I mean, they got the All-Star game this year. They got a new ballpark that is a nice ballpark. I've never been there, obviously, but from what I've seen on television, from the pictures, it looks like a nice park. But think about it, South Beach. You got Derek Jeter there. You got a lot of this Yankee influence that's going to be coming down there. Jeb Bush, whose brother, of course, the former president George W. Bush, was once the owner of the Rangers, and he did well doing that as well. Marlins are going to be an attractive spot for a lot of free agents. I mean, that's basically what I'm getting at here. And for a team like the Mets, that puts them behind the eight ball. You got the Atlanta Braves, who are getting better. They got a lot of young players that they are going to be bringing up play later on this year. They've made that commitment to do so. So all of a sudden, you're looking at the Mets, and they're starting to look like the third or fourth best team in this division all of a sudden. So that's a problem.
I know. Because, you know why? They hung their hat on all these starting pitchers, and you do have some very good young starting pitchers, but you still have to hit. Because what we discussed with the Yankees earlier, you can't go 1-0 all the time and win 2-1 all the time. And your pitcher's not going to always be lights out. They're going to have those games. And if you're not hitting and you're not scoring runs, you're going to lose. I don't care how many Syndergaards you have or DeGroms on your staff. They're all human beings, too, so they're not always going to have their best stuff. And if your team can't give them any run support, that's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It is an issue.
As a pitcher, I'd be annoyed. Really, but
I mean, look at DeGrom the other day. The guy got 27 swing and misses against the Nationals, which was the career high, from what I understand. He struck out 10 guys, and he still lost. I mean, how do you think he feels right now? I mean, he also had Harvey pitch well the night before that, and he also lost. And of all the three pitchers, the one that's most vocal is Harvey. Eventually, he's going to start to pop off if this offense continues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me pose this one last point to you. I want to get your reaction to this. Let's just say this continues for the Mets. They continue to struggle, and I hope they do turn this around. I don't know if they will, but I hope they do find a way to turn this around soon. But if it continues, are we looking at Terry Collins being on a hot seat, which I hate to say because I don't think any of this is his fault at all. Okay, maybe he makes mistakes with the lineup, maybe he makes mistakes in game, what have you, but a lot of this, with the lack of production in the offense, with a lot of the frustration with bringing in some aging veteran guys as they have over the last two seasons now, a lot of that is not all of his fault. So we all saw this happen with Willie Randolph, almost 10 years ago now, 9 years ago, where the Mets, in the middle of the night decided to let him go when it wasn't his fault either. I hope that does not repeat itself here with Terry Collins this season. I hope that kind of pressure does not come his way this year at all.
Well, again, like you said, it's really not his fault. Sometimes they want a fall guy. And I just read some before when you were talking on the computer here on the Mets site that Alderson said exactly what I was talking about. Oh, we don't want to rush them up, those new ones, the two you talked about, Smith and Rosario. They're doing well right now, but their timetable hasn't changed. See, this is what I'm talking about with books and stacks and all that. Timetable's not changing. No, you've got to go with what you're seeing, all right, in a player. And if it's time, it's time. Oh, they only spent, like this one kid only spent 3 weeks in AAA. So what? Maybe he's that heads and shoulders above everybody else. Same thing with this. If Collins ends up being the fall guy in the end, it's on Alderson. He's the one who puts together the team. Same thing with the Yankees. Cashman puts together the team. Girardi doesn't. I mean, they must have some say, but it's the GM who's getting players or telling you when to bring them up and when to do this with them. Alderson's more to blame than Collins is right now.
Yeah.
And the way he's talking, too,
I know. I mean, it's frustrating. It really is frustrating.
And
to me,
for this. Going to be the scapegoat for this in the
he
end.
is, and that's my concern. And you know, it's going to happen eventually. Most likely, he's in a walk. Speaking of walk-year contracts, this is it for Terry Collins. He has no contract beyond this season. I don't know what his future is going to be with this franchise beyond this year. But if this continues, I could certainly see this becoming an issue at some point. I just don't want them to handle it as poorly as they did with Willie Randolph 9 years ago. And look, Terry Collins, in my mind, has done a very good job with this team, even when this team was just really a team that wasn't spending any money, wasn't bringing in any players for him to manage. He was finding ways to get the most out of those players as best he could. And I agree with you. I think a lot of this falls on Alderson's shoulders if this thing does completely collapse. Now, it is April. There is time for them to turn this around. Just like there is opportunity for the Yankees to step back just a little bit, there's an opportunity here for the Mets to move forward and fix the problems that are ailing them. But, man, they've the biggest thing for them, unlike the Yankees, is the Mets have to start finding ways to hit, not just hit, but hit when it matters the most. And that's the biggest thing right now.
Well, the other big thing, the difference between Yankees and Mets right now, the Yankee lineup is scarier than the Mets lineup. I'm looking at the Mets lineup. It's not scaring me. Nobody in that lineup, if I'm a pitcher, I can't get them out. All right? Nobody scares me. In the Yankee lineup, if you've got Judge right now you got Castro hitting well, Headley, they've got them all at the top in the middle of the lineup. You're like, they're so hot, these guys. That scares you, whether it's power or not. It's just that they're hitting so well. And like I said, if Bird turns the corner, they said that middle of the lineup, if you put Judge has moved up now. They keep moving him up higher in the lineup. You got him, like I said, you got Castro up there. Headley's batting third. You got Bird as Holiday when he's DHing in there. I mean, you've got backs. You got a lot of backs to worry about. It's not just, I got to worry about two guys. With the Mets right now, you only have to worry about Conforto, who's hot. You have to worry about nobody else in that lineup. Nobody.
And I just found out now their game today against the Braves has also been postponed, so everyone in the East Coast is getting rained out here, but they really don't have anybody in this lineup, as you just said, Karen, that really scares you. I mean, there's nobody here. Outside of Conforto, give me a guy that you don't want to face with anybody on base.
He's not in the lineup, though, Cespedes, so he can't scare you. He's not in the lineup.
I mean, it's a problem. It really is a problem with this team. I mean, I'm seeing at bats where guys are just going up there and they're just swinging at anything. And even if it's not even close, and you almost know, sitting there watching the game, you know an off-speed pitch is coming. It's 2-2, 1-2, doesn't matter the count, and you got runners on, I don't know, first and second, first and third, and you know a changeup or a curveball is coming, and they still find way. They still swing at it in the dirt. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're totally off. If you want to call it off, I just think a bunch of them aren't really good hitters anyway. They really aren't. They're 250 hitters. They're 250 hitters basically in your lineup, most of them, and. I don't know. Bruce is finally coming around, but it took him a while because, changing teams. New York's not easy to play in. I don't care what they say. Look at Holiday. He's having his ups and downs, making the adjustment right now. Also making the adjustment to just the DH role. So, he's got an adjustment to make and a new league. So, people are screaming about Holiday. You got to give the guy time. He's got a lot to adjust to. New league, new team. DH, a total new role for him. It's like basically pinch hitting every time for him. So, and he has hit a bunch of home runs. He has contributed a little bit. I think he's too good a hitter not to turn the corner too. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. So that's pretty much our discussion here, folks, on the New York sports baseball scene. As we got one team playing good baseball, we got the other team playing poor baseball right now. Hence is the case right now here in New York, as we are now nearing the end of April, going into May.